So I'm going to start right in. And make sure I share my screen. There we go. Great. So business is booming. And I've spoken to most of you individually because we've had some interesting changes. And because of that, we've kind of changed our business model a little bit. What we found out is that when we get one client, it leads to many, many, many referrals. Johnny Law has been working with me locally, and he'll tell you that when we get to one person, right now we actually have a doctor. Johnny, are you there? Can you? How many lawyers is he sending us?
Right now, we've got a list of 300.
300. So the point is, yeah, the point is that one client, whether it's an injured person, a lawyer, a physician, a specialist, anybody in the cycle of a client has a whole network of people in the area that you will easily connect to. And for that reason, I've kind of told everybody not to cast the net too wide and not to try to hire many, many representatives to work for our company. When we started, I really wanted to go a lot wider, but I think we're in a position where we've figured out that it's better for us to focus on everybody's area, just try to support everyone that's on board right now, because it leads to so much business that we couldn't possibly handle, 5 times the amount of people that we had right now. So we've added a few pieces to this puzzle, and the one that we've added that I'm calling the last piece of the puzzle we have funds now for injured victims themselves. So we started out doing medical financing, primarily for insurance, and then we started getting into their accounts receivable. That led to law offices, and now we can actually they're called plaintiffs, injured victims. And this is really, really helpful. I mean, it's great that the healthcare offices are getting some cash flow, and the legal offices are getting some of their expenses paid, but people who are injured really need the money. A lot of them are really in trouble, and besides everything else that's going on, now they might physically really not be able to work. So I'm very happy about this. And what this does is it creates another option for us to be able to help everybody in this cycle to be able to survive whatever type of ruin this might lead to. So we've expanded our company mission. We've also expanded the name of our company. It's now Vitality Health and Legal Funding, because we're doing everything on the legal side as well. And we're having a lot of success with funding law offices. And I'll talk about them in a minute, but primarily law offices that take an injury case on contingency, which means they do not get paid up front. They have to bear all the brunt of the expenses while that case is winding its way through either a settlement process or a legal action. And sometimes they have to come out of pocket hundreds of thousands, not millions of dollars. And I've heard numerous lawyers tell me that they have to settle cases because they don't have the money to fight them. And that's a shame for people that really deserve what they're getting. So very important work. Our job is to support practices and law offices and also injury victims. Anybody we talk to, in the case of, I mean, we're still doing a lot of this where we're offering this free review, and we primarily get on, we ask people how they're doing with COVID-19, how they've been affected, and then we offer to help them either by improving their cash flow or by buying out their receivables or helping them with their expenses or helping their clients to stay in it as long as they can. So that's our model. Again, it's all about one. You basically, every rep in this company just needs a springboard, 1, 2, 3 clients. Even if you're talking to someone that wants to send you 100 clients, get them to send you 1, 2, or 3, or 5. But, the important thing is to know about the client, to make that client into a friend of ours so we have access to their sphere of influence. And then we don't have to work as hard. It's always about them. It's never about the service. In the last lecture, I spoke about how we engage the client by asking them about them. If they're a service provider, what do they do? How can we help them? What kind of connection do we have? And I recommend everybody, before you call someone, do a search on them on the internet. Look at their company, see what they do, see who they are, so that you can create a bridge, see what it is about them that's familiar in your life, so that you can create a bridge and provide some real empathy to them about their situation. So having said that, and having also said to you last week that the services and product knowledge is probably not the most important thing. The most important thing is helping the client and learning about them. I'm going to provide a kind of a deep product update today to give you clarity on what it is that we do. Like right now, it's funny, one of my friends that's working with us who isn't here today, Vincent in Los Angeles, said, you're involved in 3 industries at once. You're involved in finance and funding, you're involved in the legal business, and you're involved in the medical office. And it never occurred to me that we're really involved in 3 kind of interrelated but separate types of businesses. I mean, at the end of the day, we're the funding piece. The law offices and the medical office are providing the injured party. They're just trying to get some compensation. But we are the funding piece, and we also are funding and pre-funding. What is pre-funding? Pre-funding is when we proactively agree to fund clients as they walk through the door. So instead of just going in and saying, what do you have on your shelf? What are you working on now? We develop a relationship with that doctor, that lawyer, that medical service provider, so that as clients come in, we're actually giving them money as those clients come in. This is pre-funding, and it's exciting because this means that on an ongoing basis, we can assist the clients as they walk through the door, and we don't have to constantly develop new sources of business. On the legal side, we handle lawsuits of all kinds, but primarily injury cases, and we're working on a lot of interesting other things. We also do wrongful death. The 2 primary areas of injury lawsuits are personal injury and workman's comp. I've talked about personal injury. This can be a slip and fall, a box falls on somebody's head in a supermarket. We're working on cases where people were harmed by medicines or were harmed by physicians. One of our attorneys we spoke to this week, Johnny and I, actually does medical malpractice where he only assists clients that are injured by doctors. That's a personal injury. They have insurance, that's a lawsuit. And there's many other things that we're taking a look at to do. We try to do any type of injury, doing some medication injury stuff. Maybe it's unfortunately a child that something falls off a toy. There's just hundreds of scenarios where people have been hurt by things that they shouldn't be hurt by, where they deserve some kind of medical care and compensation. And we are open to doing all of those. Workman's comp is something very specific where you get hurt in the course of employment or during employment. What that means, if you're on the job and you get hurt, that employer has some type of state insurance. And that state insurance is supposed to cover a number of things, including your doctor's payments, your missing wages, maybe some retraining if you can't go back to that job. And there are a host of benefits to people in workman's comp. And in workman's comp, what we can do right now is we can compensate law offices and medical offices for people that have been injured in workman's comp. We also can help some injured party in some states. I'm going to let you know what that is. I'm going to mail it out to you. I'm going to email you. The list of states we can assist injured parties in workman's comp is limited because they're consumers, and consumers are set by a pretty strict set of laws. So we're limited with injured party only in workman's comp. In the case of personal injury, we're pretty much in all 50 states. And law offices and medical, personal injury everywhere, workman's comp almost everywhere, wrongful death pretty much everywhere. So these are the kind of cases. So when you talk to a lawyer and say, oh, I'm working on this. I had one come yesterday. It's a Boy Scout case where Boy Scouts had been terrible. Yeah, terrible case. And we're, they're injured parties. There's different kinds of injury. there's bumping your head, and there's people who have done you wrong. And those are cases that lead to lawsuits and cases that we're interested in getting involved in and helping people. Who do we help? We help not just the lawyers, but legal experts. So legal experts are people that might do accident reconstruction, investigation. They might be a medical expert. They might be a psychological profile, ex-FBI. All of these are people that we can agree to pay so that that particular expert does not have to wait till the end of the case to get paid. And that's what we do. We basically try to finance everybody and fund them so that they don't have to wait for their money and they can offset their risk to us. We mentioned injured parties. They're called plaintiffs. Sorry I mentioned that again and again, but to me, I've been in the medical legal field and I want to explain terminology when it comes across my desk so I don't, have you wondering what these terms mean. Doctors and medical providers, obviously. Whoever they are. Doctors, yes. The common ones are, if I have a list now. Here we go. Types of medical funding. Providers that take liens and letters of protection. So liens and letters of protections or IOUs for someone that's been in a lawsuit or has been injured. These providers take something called a lien or letter of protection, which is an IOU for them to get paid when the case settles. Injury chiropractors are fantastic, orthopedic, neurology, pain centers, imaging lab, medical equipment. This is just a small list just to get your mind thinking again. Again, you don't need 100 of these. You have one good injury chiropractor will have doctors he works with, imaging center. One good orthopedic will have it. One lawyer will have 19 doctors he works with. So I wouldn't overthink it. I would really focus on bringing in a limited amount of business if you haven't been successful yet, to just work that cycle. Legal funding injury cases. So there's 4 kinds of help for law firms. I don't expect you to remember this, but I'm just going to put it out there to you because I'm going through the details. And the first kind of payments that we do for funding for legal cases, we do non-recourse funding of third parties. How does that work? Well, if a lawyer has experts and medical doctors that they're utilizing the service of, we will actually pay those experts and we will take that lien or letter of protection for that medical expert and we will wait for the payment. And obviously we do that at a discount. They don't get full rate because we're trying to do multiple cases with them. Some of them won't settle. Some of them their bills will be reduced. That is not their concern. Their concern is so they can get paid a substantial amount today so they don't have to wait till later. Non-recourse funding of third parties. And this doesn't reflect against the law firm. This is not a debt to the law firm. We're actually taking a lien on behalf of the provider. Type number 2 is a line of credit on an entire law firm. And how we do that is we would take the entire law firm and we would blanket them with a line of credit anywhere from $250,000 to $5 million that they can use to finance cases as they come in. And what's great about this is, well, whatever they use, they pay for. Whatever they don't use, they don't essentially pay for. Although there are some expenses, there's a small amount of expense to do this because we get our fees up front, right? And then there are also a small management fee of 1% a year on this. So we discourage offices from doing this that don't need the money immediately, but if they do, it's not an expensive way to set up a line of credit. So as the cases come through the door, they don't have to go looking for financing or mortgaging their house. The money's already in place for them. So this is very, very substantial and good for them. They can also market to other lawyers who cannot afford to litigate their own cases and finance them. Again, we finance injured clients, injury victim advances we spoke about. We call that legal funding, but technically we're just helping them with expenses. Here's an interesting one that has nothing to do with injury cases per se, but we actually have inheritance and award money. I actually had 2 probate cases come to me where somebody had an inheritance where someone in the family died, and we're able to provide advances to people against probate, inheritance. I didn't write it down here, but other types of awards. People have they want a lawsuit, let's say, they're going to get an award. We're able to advance the money. They don't have to wait for payment. So I put it under this umbrella. It's really its own category. I call it award advances. Talked about medical funding. Basically, we go into a medical office, we take a look at everything they have. So they asked me, get to the next part here. I'm always getting ahead of myself. I'm going to jump down here to what we call the funding process. Every case in every office is custom. So I had a conversation with a doctor on Tuesday and the office manager, and they said, well, what are the percentages? And they said, well, we average this. On medical, 25 to 45% of your bills. And they said, well, we don't know if that's going to work. And I said, well, hang on a second. That's not your percentage. That's an average percentage. I have to look at your accounts receivable and your history to determine what we can do for you. We want it to be fair for everyone. You know, our investors can't get ripped off, and neither can they. So every case in office, interestingly enough, has their own processes and their own history, how diligent they are in their collections, what their relationships are with their lawyers if they've been. Some offices are taking $1,000 for procedures, some are taking $5,000. We need to know their history, and this kind of determines how they will, what their funding will look like. And this can be adjusted over time. And I'm working with a case with Johnny where we told the attorney, just send us some cases and see how we can do. I know it's not an exact replica of this conversation, Johnny, but basically we had a lawyer where we told him that we wanted to take some of his cases and show him what we could do. And he said, sure. And he signed our agreement. And that was kind of the end of that conversation, at least for now. So on the medical side, we have to take into account that there are failed clients that will never get paid on. So when an office says, 30% doesn't seem like a lot of money. Yeah, but what if you send me 2 cases and one of them settles for 50 and one of them settles for 0? Now I'm at 25% and I haven't made anything. So when we talk to these offices, we have to take into account there will be failed clients that we're not going to seek restitution on. We're not going to seek refunds on failed clients. And that has to go into their percentage. Our advance rates. So the advance rates are talking about if we advance money to a client, what can they expect to pay us back? So for instance, if an injured party borrows $10,000 and it takes 2 years, we're probably going to get $15,000 back. It's never higher than, I want to say 75%. I mean, in extreme cases, it could be double money. So let's say somebody gets a case advance, they're getting 100,000. They need money right now. We lend them 10,000, they pay back 15. It's very helpful to them. I mean, compared to traditional loans, it is a little more expensive, but these are uncollateralized, honestly, and we get them the money very quickly on cash advances. And we may be the only alternative. If they have bad credit, that doesn't come into it. Nothing else they've done comes into it. The only thing we're looking at is what is the potential for this case to settle at some point. Injured parties. This is, again, the injured parties. Case advances. We do case advances on medical, probate, lawsuits, and workman's comp. And workman's comp, not in every state. Although workman's comp is available nationwide for doctors and lawyers. The other services we provide, as I mentioned, is medical insurance collection. We provide purchase money for practices, and I'm just started working on one of those this week, but my friend Nate is here. We're working on one right now. And we also provide accounts receivable lines of credit. There's actually an interest rate on these. And this is just somebody that doesn't really want to go through the entire process. It just needs some money for right now to basically pay for their time. Instead of having to wait 3 to 6 months for their money, we may be able to just give them a line of credit that they can draw on, and then they don't have to wait for their funds. This is a reiteration. So are there any questions right now? No? Okay, good. So again, I'm going to reiterate. Let me just jump back up. It's kind of important. I don't expect you to remember all of this. The important thing is to remember that we work with law offices, medical offices, and injured parties on any kind of injury case. and that not just the law office, but the legal experts, not just the doctors, but their medical providers. And I'm willing to get on the phone with you, and Johnny's willing to get on the phone with you. We're willing to help you talk through these people, find out who their other people are, call them, engage you until you feel very solid. But again, we're making friends here. People do business with me because they like my approach. They know us and like us because we're helping them, we're supporting them. Yes, we're providing product knowledge, but the idea is to really get to know and support those clients. That's what we're here to do. That's our mission. And so when you're talking to people, and we constantly coach on this, I do with everybody, to try to get off the product and not call up and say, can I help you with your accounts receivable? You know, helping somebody with their accounts receivable, it's because they have an issue or a problem that you're solving, isn't it? So what problem are you solving by getting them money for that? You're solving their patient flow, their cash flow. That's what you have to find out. You have to be aware of what their issue is that you're solving. And in order to do that, you have to ask them. You have to ask them those questions. What is going on in your business? How are you being affected by COVID-19, and how can I help you? And they'll tell you how you can help them. I provide upfront cash for personal injury cases. It's a list of the things I need. One client leads to many. Make it very personal. How are you doing, doctor? How is your office being affected? Can we be of service to help you with this? Do you have a lot of accounts receivable? With the lawyers, this isn't quite so hard. We can just say, do you have any cases? But with doctors, it's, are you handling any injury cases? Yes or no? And who do you work with? Do you work with other offices? Do you work with other practitioners? And we're getting a situation now where they're asking us to refer people, where we talk to a lawyer, he asks for a doctor. We talk to a doctor, he asks for a lawyer, they ask for a translator. Like, we're building a book of referrals for people. And we've even gone out on a limb in some areas to try to scout out professionals to fill a need that someone has that's a client of ours. And then we end up making two friends. So it's just great. So, you know, now you know all of this, what's in it for you, right? I didn't ask you, but obviously you want a chance to help people, and you want a chance to make great money and be happy when you wake up every day and say, I can't wait to wake up to do this because I'm helping people and I'm making great money and everybody is doing great as a result of this. Quite frankly, we never anticipated that the net would be so wide that we would have to say we can't accept a large number of reps anymore. We can't really expand the business past a certain amount because there's so much business that we have to take a step-by-step approach to building the company to make sure that everybody gets the level of service that they're entitled to. And we just want you to make money and love what you do so that you feel great about working with Vitality, working with me and all of us. You know, we're a family here. And so that's my mission, and that's what I want to do every day. You know, I want people liking me and calling me because they're having fun and making money. So anything I could do, I'm happy to do it. Happy to coach you, help you develop business. There are not that many of us anymore, so it's gotten considerably easier for me to do it. And that's basically what I have. I'm going to open the floor now and get feedback from you guys. Just hear about your thoughts and anything you can add, anything I can help you with, anything you're experiencing. You want to start, Johnny? I work with you a lot. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, I mean,
Oh,
I can't hear him.
there you go. Try your microphone. Yeah, very low. Can you pull up your volume?
Yeah, hang on, let me see.
No?
Still low.
You guys hear me a little bit better now?
Better, yeah, perfect.
No, I think the biggest part is being focused on one area, like, you know, just kind of getting that down versus trying to be everything, all things to everyone. So the legal thing has really been exciting. I think more exciting than for me at least. So I don't have any questions. It's just a matter of getting these deals closed.
Right, but when you speak to people, what kind of a reception are you getting?
Oh, I get huge. When it comes to lawyers, they think they know what you're going to be offering them. So I just, my tactic is I just say, hey, I'm referred to you by a mutual friend. I'm taking only really referrals. I'm not even doing cold calling. And once I get them on, I do exactly like Mitch said. I really spend more time getting to know them a little bit more, being more friendly than vomiting on them with our services. So I really focus on the good chatter, and having that referral makes it really important. We might talk about that individual person, how they know them, and that's pretty much gets them warmed up before we can start talking about what services I might be able to provide, and then give them really great examples of lawyers and other cases we're working on and how that's relevant to them, so that they can actually visualize it. And it's not just me talking about a menu of our services, but instead I'll use specific examples.
Right, but so, I mean, we've spoken to, I want to say, I don't know, let's say 6 or 7 solid attorneys in the last week, right?
Yeah.
And how is that?
Yeah, all of them have a need. They all can think of a case, and I think it's just a matter of them getting, one, they're aware of our service. 2, just getting them to send us 1 or 2 cases as kind of a trial, and then off to the races.
Great. Yeah, and then they also have lists of doctors and people that they do business with, and they have injured parties that need to get paid. So this is kind of like a living example for you guys of what we've been doing. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you. And hey, Clark, is your microphone on?
Can you hear me?
I can. Tell me about your experience on the medical side. And I know you haven't done a lot. I don't think you've done a lot with injury cases I don't really remember what I think it's.
Yeah. So my background, I was orthopedic rep for about 8 years, and then I worked for Cardinal Health with the interventional specialties. So I worked a lot with device mainly, but there were, especially in orthopedic, there were workers' comp. There was some injury situations on that. A lot of that was more on the back end, some of the billing things I didn't know about. I was just providing a service with, the implants and the prostheses.
Right.
But I really love this this model, and I just want to jump in. And I guess I was going to ask you, was it Johnny that was?
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny. So when you started calling, did you have some people that you already were familiar with, or did you have some people tell you that there was some people that needed some help and support?
Yeah, I did 2 things. One, I went through my Rolodex and said, okay, who are the lawyers that I've worked with before personally? And then I literally just put it out on Facebook saying, hey, does anybody have any great recommendations for PI lawyers? And so that gave me at least that ability to contact that PI lawyer and say, hey, a mutual friend, Jody Smith referred you to me.
Okay.
And I just kept it simple.
Excellent.
And then they think I'm a potential client, of course, when they get a message. So I don't, I just said I was referred to you by her. And then so I start and I say, hey, how do you know Jody? Isn't she a great girl? That's awesome. Yeah, she and I go way back. How are you doing? How's COVID been to you? Has it slowed you down? The courts have gotten really slowed up. And then I'll introduce myself and say, well, let me tell you a little bit about me and the reason why I wanted to be in touch with you. And then I kind of go into make it really easy. I go, we do 4 really simple things, and then I break it down just like Mitch did, and that's really it.
Okay.
And when we do that, then every single time I try to give an example, so I talk about like, hey, when it comes to plaintiff funding, maybe you've got a person who has living expenses. It's a mom who right now really needs that award money because they can't work, and obviously with all the things with COVID and everything else going on. So we can actually fund those living expenses, because we've found out a lot of lawyers are giving their clients monthly allowances. And I said, we can do that at a non-recourse basis, Then for the medical bills, we could do that. The non-recourse part is really, and even though they know the word non-recourse, I still explain it. I say, so if the case doesn't settle, you're not on the hook for that money, when it comes to medical or the third party.
Excellent.
Yeah. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
in the beginning, I just literally asked people, I said, does anybody have any great PI? And I think the vast majority of the ones we're working on right now all came from just that, literally from asking on Facebook saying, hey guys, who was a great PI attorney that you had?
That's excellent. Yeah, that's what Dr. Mitch was saying, that, just kind of it snowballs from that one call.
It really does. And then I found, we obviously do a referral affiliate kind of program. And so I have a couple people who have started to prove themselves and have really a strong network in this area. And so, we'll pay them once we get their lawyer friends some money. So I've got one guy who's working really hard for me, and then I've got one girl up in the Bay Area who's starting to turn on, and she actually knows both PI medical facilities and PI lawyers.
Oh, wow. So what does that look like the PI medical facilities? Give me an example of something like that. I'm not
ortho,
okay.
pain, ortho, neuro, anything like that. That just facilities that actually know the game and how to handle PI or workers' comp.
Okay. So are you in San Francisco?
No, I'm in San Diego. I used to be in San Francisco.
Oh, right on. Okay, very good.
Great. Well,
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
of course. So I think we'll wrap it up here. I'd love to talk to each individually and just help you with whatever your needs are to support you to get going or get moving and get this, get things to the next level. And together we'll figure out what that is. My main concern right now is to make sure that all of us are having a pipeline and a flow. And then we can, for expansion purposes, if people want to send you referrals, we'll accept those referrals and we'll pay them the 15% referral fee. I think that's a valid and valuable thing that we do. We have a lot of people that like to do that. And then as reps, we can concentrate on really developing those clients and unlimited economic opportunity here. Unlimited, really. You can really write your own ticket. And I'll be with you every step of the way.
Hey, Dr. Mitch, you mind sending out the PowerPoint that you used tonight, via email?
I will. I record all of these. I'll give you the link.
Oh, perfect.
Be recorded as well.
You said it was in the original link. I think I printed it out. So you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you did already send it, Mitch.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'll just print it out.
Okay, great. Well, with no further ado, I'd love to talk to you each individually, see how you're doing, and see if we could, help you expand your pipeline and get everybody doing what we're doing. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.